After 25 years of marriage, Rachel Bennett believed she knew her husband better than anyone else in the entire world. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a map she had memorized over 9,000 days of shared life. She knew the exact temperature he liked his morning shower. She knew how he liked his coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, stirred exactly 3 times. She knew the specific, slightly panicked look in his eyes when he couldn't find his car keys, and the exact tie he wore when he was nervous before a high-stakes board meeting. She knew the sound of his footsteps, that rhythmic, heavy, dependable thud against the front porch every evening at 6:17. And every night, without fail, Daniel Bennett would cross the threshold, kiss her forehead, and say the same 2 words, "I'm home," for 25 years. Rachel believed those words were a sanctuary. They meant safety. They meant loyalty. They meant forever. But the terrifying thing about betrayal, the thing they don't tell you in stories, is that it rarely arrives looking like a monster. It rarely arrives with a warning siren. Sometimes it arrives looking like routine. Sometimes it arrives looking like comfort, or the person you trust most in the world. While Rachel spent decades building a life around one man, Daniel Bennett was building another life entirely. Another apartment. Another relationship. Another version of himself. A version Rachel had never been invited to meet. The lies were not just told, they were carefully constructed, brick by brick, year by year. Birthdays were celebrated. Family vacations were planned with precision. Anniversaries were toasted with expensive wine and smiling photographs that now felt like evidence of a crime. All while hidden secrets lived quietly beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything she thought was real. And the most devastating part of it all? Rachel never saw it coming. Because when you love someone for 25 years, you stop looking for reasons not to trust them. You become blind to the shadows because you are so used to the light. But one ordinary afternoon, on a day that started like any other, a single phone call from a total stranger would unravel an entire marriage. A woman's trembling voice would ask a question that would split Rachel's world in half, forever. Is this Daniel's wife? In that moment, the air left the room. Rachel Bennett was about to discover something horrifying. The man she shared a bed with for 25 years, the man who had seen her at her most vulnerable, had been living a double life. Before the lies, before the secrets, before the foundation of her world turned to dust. Rachel Bennett truly believed she had the kind of marriage people spent their entire lives searching for. At 52 years old, Rachel carried herself with a quiet, understated grace. She wasn't flashy or attention-seeking. She was the warm center of her family's universe. She was the kind of woman who remembered birthdays without digital reminders. She was the neighbor everyone trusted with their spare house keys. She was the mother who still checked the weather in cities 3 states away just to remind her grown children to wear a jacket. She had spent the majority of her adult life taking care of other people, and she did it with a heart that never felt the need to complain. 25 years earlier, Rachel had met Daniel Bennett at a 4th of July barbecue just outside of Columbus, Ohio. She was 27, full of dreams she hadn't yet named. He was 30. He wore a crisp, white button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, and he laughed like a man who didn't have a single worry in the world. Rachel remembered thinking he looked like a lighthouse. He was the kind of man people naturally leaned toward when the world felt dark. Confident, steady, safe. By the end of that night, they were sitting on folding lawn chairs long after the fireworks had faded and the other guests had gone inside. They talked about everything: family history, ambitions, music, their deepest fears. For the first time in her life, Rachel felt truly seen. Daniel didn't just listen, he paid attention. He remembered the small things. The way she hated tomatoes on her sandwiches. The specific song she always skipped on the radio because it reminded her of her late father. The way she got quiet whenever something hurt her deeply. He noticed her. And Rachel fell head over heels in love with that feeling of being known. They married 18 months later. It wasn't an extravagant affair. A small church, a simple reception, cheap champagne, and a promise that felt as unbreakable as stone. No matter what life does to us, we choose each other. For a very, very long time, it felt like they had done exactly that. Together, they built a life that looked almost perfect from the outside. Daniel climbed the ladder in his career as a financial consultant. He was reliable, professional, disciplined. Clients trusted him with their life savings almost instantly. And Rachel supported him through every grueling stage. The late nights at the office, the crushing pressure of the markets, the endless business trips. She never questioned the sacrifices because she believed they were building a legacy together. Then came Emma, their daughter. Daniel cried the day she was born, actually, sobbed. Rachel never forgot the sight of this strong, steady man, holding tiny Emma and whispering, "I'm going to protect you forever." 3 years later, Noah arrived. He was a burst of wild energy, turning every room into a battlefield and every cardboard box into a spaceship. Their house became loud, messy, and vibrantly alive. There were Disney trips that left them exhausted, camping disasters that turned into family legends, and burned Thanksgiving turkeys that they laughed about for years. They faced financial struggles during the recession and arguments over parenting styles, real, messy life. But through all of it, Rachel believed they were solid. Not perfect, but real. And in Rachel's mind, real love mattered more than perfect love ever could. Now, 25 years later, the house had grown quiet. Emma was in Chicago. Noah was in Boston. The silence in the hallways was heavy. Rachel often wandered into their empty bedrooms just to straighten pillows that didn't need it, searching for the identity she had lost when the children moved out. But Daniel was always there to pull her back. "Now we finally get time for ourselves," he would say with a smile. And Rachel believed him. She truly, deeply did. Recently, they had even started talking about retirement. A lake house, traveling to Europe. Rachel taking up painting again. She felt like the best years were still ahead. Daniel seemed happier lately, too. Lighter. He started working out again, buying expensive cologne, dressing in tailored suits. Rachel teased him. "Who are you trying to impress?" He would laugh easily and say, "You, obviously." If you are finding this exploration of the human heart as profound as I am, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We specialize in these reflective narratives and the teaching moments found within our most difficult chapters. Join our community by subscribing now, right in the middle of this unfolding story. At first, the change didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like distance. It was the kind of subtle gap that slowly slips into long marriages without any warning. People explain it away as stress or aging, or the inevitable routine of being together for a quarter of a century. Rachel told herself that was all it was. Your mind doesn't jump to deception after 25 years. It searches for safer, kinder explanations. The first real crack was the phone. Daniel had never been secretive. For decades, they shared passwords like they shared the grocery list. But suddenly, there were barriers. Daniel started carrying his phone everywhere. To the bathroom, to the garage, even to take out the trash. He was like a man guarding a ticking bomb. One evening during dinner, his phone buzzed on the table. Daniel grabbed it so quickly he nearly shattered his water glass. In that half second when their eyes met, something inside Rachel shifted. It wasn't proof, it wasn't certainty. It was instinct. That quiet, human alarm that whispers, something is wrong. Then came the physical changes. The whitening strips for his teeth, the new haircut, the fitted jackets. He said he just got tired of looking old. But Rachel would lie awake at night, watching him sleep, wondering why his need to feel young had suddenly become a frantic, urgent mission. Then there was the cologne. A sharp, clean, youthful scent she didn't recognize. When she asked, he said a colleague recommended it. Simple answer. Normal answer. But he wouldn't look her in the eye. The suspicion grew like a slow-growing vine, wrapping around her heart until it was hard to breathe. Rachel started noticing the way he smiled at his screen when he thought she wasn't looking. The way he would clear his browser history the moment she walked into the room. One night, She reached for his hand on the couch, and he didn't even squeeze back. His eyes were fixed on his laptop. That tiny moment of coldness hurt more than 1,000 shouted arguments. She argued with herself for weeks. Was she being paranoid? Was she just lonely? But the question haunted her. What if your life is falling apart because you are too afraid to face the truth? On that cold, gray Thursday afternoon, the truth finally arrived. Rachel had just finished grocery shopping, buying the things they always had: bread, coffee, Daniel's favorite cereal. The phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. The silence on the other end was heavy with hesitation. Then a woman's voice. Hi, is this Rachel Bennett? Rachel's heart skipped a beat. Yes, is. Is this Daniel's wife? The grocery bag slipped from Rachel's hand, oranges rolling across the pavement. Yes, my name is Claire. Without knowing why, Rachel leaned against her car. Her knees felt like water. She already knew. Claire was younger, professional. Her voice was steady, which made the pain even sharper. I'm sorry to call you, Claire said softly, but I didn't know who else to talk to anymore. Then the hammer fell. I've been in a relationship with your husband for almost 4 years. Rachel stopped breathing. The world continued around her. People pushed shopping carts. Cars honked. A child laughed. But Rachel was frozen in a vacuum. No, she whispered. You're lying. But Claire began to weep. She didn't sound like a villain. She sounded like another victim. She started revealing details that only an intimate partner could know. The scar on Daniel's shoulder. His love for old jazz. The silver watch Rachel had saved for months to buy him. Claire even knew about their private vacation to Vermont. He told me your marriage was over emotionally, Claire whispered. That sentence was a jagged blade. 25 years of loyalty, of raising children, of sacrifice, reduced to a convenient story Daniel told another woman to make his cheating feel like a mercy mission. Rachel remembered every time she had held Daniel's hand during his father's funeral, every time she had worked extra shifts to support his career. It was all being rewritten by a stranger on a cell phone. How long? Rachel managed to ask. Almost 4 years. For years of lies. For years of him coming home and kissing her forehead with Claire's scent still on his skin. For years of him pretending to be a faithful husband while maintaining a separate heart. I knew he was married, Claire admitted. But he said you stayed together for the kids. Rachel laughed, a sound that was more like a sob. The kids are gone, Claire. Then the final blow. Daniel has an apartment downtown. An apartment. Not a hotel. Not a car. A home. A physical space designed for betrayal. Rachel's voice cracked. What? He told me it was where he stayed when he needed space from you. The call lasted 40 minutes. Rachel learned more about her husband from this stranger than she had learned from him in a decade. When it ended, she sat in her car numb. Her groceries were melting in the trunk, but she couldn't move. She realized she had trusted a man enough to never imagine he could be a monster. When Rachel finally drove home, the house looked exactly the same. The porch light, the wind chimes, the familiar smell of wood polish. But she now understood that a life can look beautiful on the outside while it is quietly rotting from within. She put the groceries away mechanically. Milk, eggs, pasta sauce. Then she collapsed. She gripped the counter and sobbed until she was physically hollow. 25 years. How much of it was a performance? She looked at their anniversary photo. Marriage goals their friends had written. She felt a wave of nausea. Was he texting Claire while they took that photo? Was he dreaming of another bed while he slept in theirs? The front door opened. Daniel walked in with Thai food, smiling, relaxed. Hey, I got your favorite. Rachel stared at him. He looked like a stranger wearing her husband's skin. You okay? He asked. Rachel took a breath that felt like glass. Are you cheating on me? The silence was deafening. Daniel didn't deny it. He didn't get angry. He froze. And in that frozen moment, Rachel saw the cowardice. What? Rachel, where is this coming from? Don't lie to me anymore, Daniel. The truth came out in jagged pieces. He didn't look at her. He spoke to the floor. A woman called me today. Her name is Claire. Daniel closed his eyes, and for a second, he looked small. How long? Almost 4 years. Rachel staggered back. For years of holidays, of graduations, of Sunday mornings. Why? She asked. I never meant for this to happen. That is what people say when they are caught, Daniel. Was any of it real? Was I real? Yes. God, yes. Then how do you betray someone you love for 1,460 days? He had no answer. He sat at the kitchen table, looking older, weaker. Then he reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small brass key. He laid it on the table like a confession. An apartment, he whispered. I rented a place downtown. Rachel looked at the key. It was more than a piece of metal. It was a second existence. It was a construction of deception. It required a lease, utilities, furniture, a routine. This wasn't a mistake. This was a project. You bought another home? It's not like that. What is it like, Daniel? Tell me. Did you have dinner there? Did you laugh there? Did you live a whole life while I was here waiting for you to come home at 6:17? He didn't speak. He couldn't. Rachel backed away, feeling the contamination of every memory they shared. Every anniversary was poisoned. Every vacation was a lie. Rachel Bennett had believed marriage was two people sharing one life. She now realized her husband was living too. She didn't sleep that night. She sat with the brass key, watching the sun rise over a life she no longer recognized. By morning, she had made a choice. She needed to see the crime scene of her marriage. She drove to the modern, glass and steel building in downtown Cincinnati. It was expensive. It was permanent. She walked into the lobby, feeling like a ghost. The concierge looked up. Good morning. Is Daniel Bennett here? Oh, Mr. Bennett? He's not in, but you can go up. The concierge smiled warmly. You must be his wife. He talks about you all the time. That was the final, crushing realization. He had used her name to make himself seem like a good man to the people in his secret life. He had used her as a prop in his fantasy. Rachel stood in the elevator, the brass key heavy in her hand. She realized that the man she loved didn't exist. He was a character played by a stranger. And as the elevator doors opened, Rachel Bennett prepared to walk into the ruins of her own life. Thank you for staying with us through this difficult narrative. If this story of betrayal and the search for truth moved you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. We believe every story has a lesson, and we are grateful to have you here for the journey. Subscribe today.